Hi, welcome to Identity Management with SAP S/4HANA Cloud Public Edition. In this session, I'm going to cover how user provisioning works with S/4HANA Cloud, how roles and authorizations are structured and assigned to users in S/4HANA Cloud, and then ultimately how users are authenticated into the S/4HANA Cloud solution. We'll also talk how you can integrate the S/4HANA Cloud both from a user provisioning and authentication perspective with your existing infrastructure that you may already be using today for automated provisioning and authentication. Before we get into the demo, just maybe to quickly level set on a couple concepts in terms of how these processes work. So from a user provisioning perspective, when we look at S/4HANA Cloud Public Edition, there are really three main methods that business users are created in S/4HANA. So the first and probably most common is using an automated integration to replicate employees or workforce from an existing HR system. So we have out-of-the-box integrations not only with our solution, SAP SuccessFactors, but we also deliver an out-of-the-box solution to replicate employees and cost centers from third-party systems like Workday. So you can quickly deploy a prepackaged integration on the business technology platform cloud integration and be up and running very quickly to be replicating employees from a system like Workday or SuccessFactors into S/4HANA Cloud. You can also develop a custom replication using APIs on S/4HANA Cloud from an existing third-party HR system. The second mechanism is using a batch upload utility. So there's an application in S/4HANA Cloud that provides you the Excel template, which we'll take a look at, that you can complete with your user population and then upload the spreadsheet into S/4HANA Cloud for user provisioning. So some customers choose to do this on an ongoing basis. Maybe the amount of users they're creating is not that frequent, so they just use this this batch upload utility from time to time to create new users or change users. The final mechanism is a manual creation. So this is a one-off user creation. Maybe you need to create a couple of business users in a test environment or create a one-off user in production. You can use the Fiori-based UI to create a single user in S4. From a role and authorization perspective, the S/4HANA Cloud solution, like all SAP solutions, functions on the concept of least privilege, so assigning users only the roles and authorizations that they need to do for their job function. So with S/4HANA Cloud, the system is delivered with business role templates based on job function that are fully segregated of duty compliant, SOD compliant. So you can start from these delivered business roles and then through the fit to standard workshops, maintain restriction values or modify the roles to your requirements. The roles themselves can contain restriction values, which we'll take a look at. And what this means is, for example, if you have a sales order processing role and you want to assign it to a group of users that only should be able to see data for a certain company code or sales organization or plant, you can maintain restrictions on the role so that they can only see data from, maybe they can see data from all organizations and only update or create data for their organization, or you can restrict down so that they can only see data from their organization. So we'll take a look at that during the demo. The business roles contain business catalogs, and those catalogs contain the actual applications that the end user is using. So business roles contain applications, or business roles contain catalogs which contain applications. The roles are what get assigned to users, and a user in S/4HANA Cloud is a business user. So as we'll see in the demo, in S/4HANA Cloud, the user that has the roles assigned to them is a business user, so that is the identity in S/4HANA Cloud. The business user actually has no security credentials maintained on them. So we use single sign-on to get into S/4HANA Cloud, which we'll take a look at. So these are just some screenshots that we'll look at in the demo. When you assign a security role, you do maintain the restrictions. And in addition, the same is true for assigning workflow authorizations. So you can maintain organizational responsibility definitions based on where the business user is sitting, in their team, so that they can see certain workflow items. Stepping out of S/4HANA Cloud and looking at authentication. So when we look at authentication with S/4HANA Cloud, we actually, or the solution itself uses a service on the Business Technology Platform, or BTP, known as Identity Authentication Service. And IAS for short, IAS provides single sign-on to our SAP Cloud solutions, S/4HANA Cloud being one of them. The beauty of IAS is it's a very robust IDP compliant authentication service. So you can easily integrate this service with an existing IDP compliant application like Azure or Okta. So many customers choose to integrate IAS with their existing single sign-on infrastructure so that end users enjoy single sign-on into S/4HANA Cloud, or they are using the same authentication mechanisms that they are for all their other corporate applications. And IAS is very robust in terms of capabilities, so you can maintain conditional authentication, meaning, for example, if the user's in the office, they can enjoy single sign-on, but if they're out of the office accessing S4, they can be forced through two-factor authentication. So the tooling itself does support, two-factor conditional authentication based on IP addressing, even different sources of authentication for your employees or contractors. The IAS is included with S/4HANA Cloud. If we move to the right on the slide, there is another application on BTP worth mentioning, and that is identity provisioning. So this would be if you wanted to automate user provisioning into S4 from a more central service, if you will, on BTP. So maybe this is fully integrated with identity access compliance already, so you can maintain and set up the provisioning from identity provisioning into S/4HANA Cloud. This is not included in the base license for S/4HANA Cloud. A more graphical representation of what we just discussed, but the end user authenticates to IAS, and then these users can be sourced from an existing user corporate store that you may already be using, Okta, Microsoft Azure, or any IDP 2.0 compliant. So users, once they're authenticated, it is a SAML 2.0 single sign-on between IAS and S/4HANA Cloud. And then here the user sees all of their applications that they are assigned to via their business roles in a very task-oriented, friendly navigational setup. So if we jump into the demonstration quickly. So this is my S/4HANA Cloud solution. So the first thing we're going to take a look at is the user provisioning aspect that we discussed. So if I look at my landing page here, the first thing you'll notice is that it's fully personalizable. So I've just personalized all the applications we're going to look at today into my favorites. So if I click on Manage Workforce, this is an application now where I can view my workforce. I can create a one-off business user, but we're going to import. So if I look at importing the basic user that we're going to do today, I can download the CSV template. I've already completed the template, but this is the basic user template. Of course, there are more advanced templates where if you need to maintain additional organizational attributes on the user, such as cost center and things like that, you can get and start and end dates on contracts and things like that. You can use other templates. But for this base template, it's pretty simple, just their username, the type of user, then first name, last name, and email. So I've gone ahead and maintained this template. So within the solution, I'm just going to browse and upload this file. I'm going to give it a name of today's date. and then we're going to click on import. So now this job kicks off, and there is an application log that we can look at to see the status of the user import. So we'll just let that run for a second and come back to it. While that's running, I'm going to open up another tab. So it typically runs for a couple seconds. So let's just see. So here we are, we're done. So if I drill in and look, I can see here that this user was successfully created. So employee and business partner were set up in the system. So now I would be able to do what I need to with this business user. So if I navigate back to my landing page, let's take a look at business roles and restrictions. So I mentioned that there are delivered templates. So these are some of the delivered role templates, and you can create new roles from existing templates. But for example, if we open up a role, here is maybe I'll pick purchaser. So if I open up the purchaser role, I can see all of the business catalogs that are associated to this role. In this case, there are many, 54. I can also see the business users that are assigned to the role. So if I come back and I edit the role, I can now maintain restrictions on the role. So this is very intuitive to use. These Fiori UIs are, again, simple and easy to understand and use. So, of course, the role right now is unrestricted. If I want to restrict down the data, I can start to restrict down based on different types of restriction types. So here I'm just going to pick on maybe asset class to start. So under asset class, I could pick on or select which asset classes this role should be able to either display, view, read, write, all of the above. So you can see over here, read, write, and value help. Read and value help or only value help. So the ability just to pick the information into a field versus being able to read and write it on the purchasing document. So I'm actually going to back out of this screen and cancel out of this role. But if I wanted to assign my business user to this role, I could do so right from that screen, or I can navigate back and pull up the business user that we just created via the upload utility. I'm going to search for it. So here's maintain business user. So you can see the search is very easy and intuitive to use. And if I search for the user we just created, so here's John Demo, which was the user from the template that we just uploaded. And now I could assign business roles to this user. So I could select which roles that John Demo is a part of. I could also change any data that I needed to, etc. From an audit and logging capability, all of these objects do have audit logging associated to them, so you could display the change documents for the user. So here you can see it was the creation, and then I assigned these roles. It was all under my ID, but you can get change documents on all of these security objects as well. If we move back to the workforce, actually, I'm sorry, if we stay here in the Maintain Business Users app, there's the ability to download users. And why this is important? Well, one, you can download user to role assignments, you can download the user set, but there's this download for identity provider. So if I click on download for identity provider, I get a spreadsheet of the user data that I can use for an upload utility. So if we look here, there was just one user. We're going to look at authentication next. So now we have moved out of the identity, or out of S4HANA Cloud, and now we are looking at the BTP, Identity Authentication Service. So here again, this is the service that you can integrate with existing identity providers. So Through simple configuration, you could establish connectivity to an existing corporate identity provider like Azure or Okta. And then if you didn't, here's where you would maintain users for authentication. So I could come in here and now I could just import that file that I just extracted out of S4HANA Cloud and upload it here. And when I import the users, I do get an option to trigger an email to the user. So if I navigate back and let's just select on the file that I just downloaded. So if I pick on or select the file I just downloaded and click on import, one user will be created. So when I create the user is now created. I could also, when I pull him up, when he gets created, you can trigger an email to that user as well. I'm just going to select my ID so you can see some other information as well about the user. You can reset their password here, but this is where their password is maintained if you're not using or integrating with an existing IDP. So what we just looked at is from a role and role and authorization standpoint, they are maintained in S4HANA Cloud. Users are authenticated via IAS, and even if you integrate with an existing corporate user store like Okta or Azure, the IAS is used as an authentication proxy at that point. So users still come to IAS even though they're sourced or redirected to the IDP solution. From a unauthorized access prevention audit capability, we do have, or SAP does provide or maintain a very rigorous protocol for security testing of all of our infrastructure, security configuration monitoring, and we do have security event and incident management around all of the infrastructure and applications that are running in SAP data centers. You can take a tour of the SAP Trust Center as well, which I'll drop in the link down below. But that is really where you can take a tour of a data center. You can see all of the processes and procedures we have around security testing, both from an application perspective, infrastructure, monitoring, threat assessment, things like that. From a solution capability within S4HANA Cloud, there is the capability to display security audit logs. So in terms of who is executing which programs, there's change document application. So who changed what and when, in terms of maybe master data on a business partner record, for example. And then there's also read access logging capabilities, which will show who viewed which data. From a security audit log perspective, maybe we can just take a quick look at that. So if I navigate back to my home screen, there is a Fiori application for display security audit log. And here I can look at all of the audit log events within the system. I can filter based on user ID, the application, when they are timestamp, and there are also APIs to extract this information as well. So to wrap everything up, maybe I'll just drill back to this slide one more time. So within the S4HANA Cloud solution, we do have the concept of a business user, and those business users are created really in three ways. Automated using a delivered integration, such as with SuccessFactors or Workday, or a custom integration. The second way is via batch upload, and the third way is a manual creation. Once the business users are created, they get assigned to business roles. The business roles themselves contain business catalogs, which contain business applications. The business roles, you can maintain restrictions on data to determine what the user can and cannot see and update and create. And then from an authentication standpoint, the business technology platform, there's an IAS service that you can use as is. So you can create users in IAS and they authenticate directly there, or you can integrate it with your existing IDP solution so users can enjoy end-to-end single sign-on with their corporate credentials. Thank you.